The Ask the Experts Theater at CSCMP Edge 24 is sponsored by Knopf.
Hi, everyone. All right. Um, my name is Ash. I'm the founder and CEO of KoiReader Technologies. I started this company in 2015, 2016 timeframe when I realized that AI has arrived. And the question in front of me was, am I going to build a single application or an Amazon? And I set out to build the latter. So what you are about to see is one of the most platforms out there worldwide, and it's backed by incredible tech. And I have lots of videos and demonstrations and some very exciting announcements towards the end. So please stay till the end, and I promise you're going to enjoy the show. So one of the things, you know, when I realized that AI has arrived, I formed a thesis that we should how do we target the entire operations, and the operation starts from front of the supply chain where the demand generation takes place, which is in the retail stores, to back end where the production and manufacturing takes place, and everything in between. So manufacturing, warehousing, shipping, ports, drayage, carriers, networks, yards, all the way to the retail stores, and the three-tier distribution system. So what we are presenting today is very deep, and its focus is on the operational excellence and how, as a business leader, you should think about AI adoption. What's real, what's not, how do I trust before I make a decision, and how do I extract value from my investments? Erin, if you can please pass the brochures to. So please reach out to Erin, and she's handing over brochures. So all this material is there in those printouts. So a little bit about us. We started this space globally. In May 2019, we were the first startup to launch at FreightWaves. Since then, we have built a very, very powerful platform, and it's endorsed by some of the biggest brand names in the world. We were showcased at G20 in 2023. We wrote the national logistics policy for world's 5th largest economy. So the guy standing in that picture over there in that corner, that's me, doing goods to person picking. That was launched by the Prime Minister of India in 2022 timeframe. So here's a question for everyone. Our booth is over there at 233, and a lot of people walked past us, but nobody really stopped because there is something very interesting on our booth's banner. And that's the state of the industry where we are in. There are 5% of the leaders that are innovating, 5% are watching these leaders, and the 90% of the leaders, they're unsure where it stands, so they're observing what the leaders are doing, right? So by this time, I hope everyone knows what NVIDIA is, and $3 trillion market cap, and the last trillion got added in 8 months. So it's something that we have never seen before. This is what's on our booth over there. We are publicly endorsed by NVIDIA and PepsiCo, because of the work we have done. So imagine a $3 trillion company endorsing KoiReader Technologies for the work we have done. So that's Azita Martin, that's VP of AI, CPG and retail, and this is her quote on KoiVision platform that we developed. One of the themes in the industry, as you go from one conference to another, or as you take on AI projects, this presentation is about, how should I think about it, and what's really happening in the industry, what's real. We are working with Fortune 50, Fortune 100 customers like PepsiCo. Then we get approached by $200 billion giants, and they are 3.5, 4 years behind, right? And that's the state of the industry. We get a lot of questions from IT leaders, operations leaders, business leaders, and there are a lot of anytime a new technology comes to the market, there's a lot of uncertainty about how should I know what to trust. So that's what I'm going to focus on this presentation. The focus of this presentation is an AI strategy to reinvent business operations and create extraordinary value, right? If you think about, most of the AI conversations that are taking place, and even at this conference, it's about generative AI because everyone had data. It was the easiest thing to do. People basically woke up in 2023 when they saw the power of ChatGPT. Everyone said, oh, wow, AI has arrived. But I did my first AI project in 1998. So 2015, I started the build-out because the tech had arrived. AI has been around for a long time, right? So a lot of conversations you'll see around, it's like basic vision AI. Can I read the license plate? Can I track the trailer number? Can I use voice? Basic things. Or if I have data, can I apply generative AI? But the holistic thinking is missing, entirely missing. And that's what this presentation is all about, building an AI operating model. Because the conversation is not about use case. The conversation is about value, right? And how do you articulate value? How do you build your capital acquisition request if you don't even understand what the entire journey looks like, right? So there are essentially 6 parameters that we are trying to optimize: accuracy, efficiency, profit, performance, collaboration, and safety. So I'll give you an example. We can think about a yard check-in for license plate detection, trailer numbers, et cetera. If you can do that with 70%, 60%, 80% accuracy, what's the value, right? But if you can do that with near perfect accuracy, can you eliminate guard checks? If you have 100 sites and you brought in a 200K saving per annum per site by automating the guard check, you have just made $20 million per annum, right? And that's just the tip of the iceberg. That's the thinking we need. And we get approached by, we are partners with Axis and many other camera companies. Projects fail, they don't get the accuracy, 80%, 90%, if you're lucky, because the real AI kicks in when the weather goes bad, different light conditions, there's rusting and all that stuff. So we got to think about the whole opportunity holistically. So depending on where you are in your journey, you have to think about, how do I apply AI in my organization? So the 6 points that you see over here, this is what I wrote in the National Logistics Policy, a world's 5th largest economy as well. So these are, this is, when we apply, a cutting edge technology, it requires change management. It requires, how do I, do my daily job, but without disrupting the operations, apply new tech. The good news is it's very doable. We have done it. And we have implemented it across network, and if you do it right, the value savings that comes out of it is massive. For one of our customers, from one use case, we saved $2 million, one facility, one warehouse for a goods to person picking. If you aggregate across 28 sites, we are talking about $56 million savings from one application, and that's just one application in our platform. So here's the AI operating model. The most of the conversations taking place in the industry is about, like, we often get approached by, what's the use case that I should, you guys serve? That's the wrong question. What are the list of use cases that we can look at? So if you think about a warehouse, you have a yard, you have inbound, outbound operations, you have inventory tracking, you have picking, you have different flavors of that. Automation, ASRS systems like AutoStore, Exotec, Ocados of the world. It's not about a single use case. So if you, let's say, you do a yard check-in, and you install a server in your facility, or you implement cargo scanning towers at dock doors, right? What you're not thinking about is, it may have like, each tower may have like 7, 8 cameras or to scan everything that passes through it, and to what's the number of video streams that's coming from that camera, and how many number of edge devices that's inside the tower. That means you're dealing with that many operating systems, that many points of failures, that much more support, that much more cost. And then you want to do, like efficiency planning, industrial engineering study in your warehouse layout. What do? Are you going to buy a new edge server? Jensen will be very happy, NVIDIA CEO, but that's not what, how we should be thinking about value. So the first step, and I've presented this operating model in a number of high-profile settings, C-suite, consulting engagements. The first step is, the workshop in organizational alignment. We have to make sure that people in the org, they're ready for this. They understand what's the power of it, and where do we start from. And you can't go on that journey if you're dealing with a vendor who hasn't done it before. If they are talking about onesies, twosies use cases, they cannot give you the holistic perspective. They cannot, and because you haven't done it before, your IT leaders may not have done it before. This is so new, right? So how do you go about, not making mistakes? I'll give you some examples. So let's say you engage with 5 vendors, one for yard check, one for cargo, one for, like another application inside the warehouse. You're doing barcode scanning. You want to move from barcode scanning to intelligent label scanning. Now, all these systems coming from different vendors, and you may be throwing data into something like a snowflake. That's what the IT team is doing. And then they will say that we'll apply generative AI on it. So 5 vendors, 5 applications pushing data in Snowflake, and now you're thinking about your LLM strategy. Should we use ChatGPT? Should we build, hire LLM developers in-house? What LLM to use? What works, what doesn't? By the time you realize all of this, 5 years would have gone by, right? If you build the right foundation, however, you can do the same thing in 2 years at much cheaper cost, and you can extract much higher value, and you, as a leader, you'll get elevated in the organization. And I'm not saying this as hyperbole. We have seen this happen in organizations because not many people understand what the opportunity is. So we are still talking about, bits and pieces rather than the whole journey, and that's why I built the operating model. So let's, I covered the first point. Let's look into the second thing. So there are different types of consulting opportunities in the market. So if you, typically in the market, we have 3 types of engagements that take place. The first type of customers, they are working with a big 5, the PwCs of the world, Accenture, et cetera. And they are building the strategy with you. And those can, that's one type of approach. Then you have a second type of approach where you have boutique consulting firms, and you may be working with them because they were experts in their domain. They have left the industry, and they've started their own consulting firms, and they're helping you with your industrial automation, warehouse automation kind of journey, right? And the third type of customer is, we've got some rock stars in-house, and they know what we need to do. We don't need outside consultants. What we need are, like AI-first partners, right? So depending on what your footprint is, I would look into what kind of, footprint I fit into, my organization fits into, and what kind of partner should I select, right? But in all 3 scenarios, you must select, an AI-first partner, because a company that has not done this before will take you down a rabbit hole. And that would mean it's good for consulting company. I was a consultant, ex-PwC, ex-EY. And it's great for consulting revenue generation, but it's not good for you, because what you want to focus on is value generation. So you start from operating model design. Then there are questions that are coming up in the market, like data governance, intellectual property. Your data is yours. How do you ensure it stays with you and the vendor that you're working with, they are not building AI models, or if they are building AI models, how it's protected. These are new considerations. So we have to think holistically about these things. The next one is very interesting, procurement and infrastructure. So far, a bulk of the conversation that was taking place in the industry, it was in a SaaS model. That means your contracts were meant for SaaS. There was no consideration for hardware deployment on-premise in an edge and cloud infrastructure, where you are performing analysis at the site level, and then you may be sending metadata or analytics into the cloud. So it's a totally different architecture. It requires, modification of your MSA agreements. But if you're not thinking of it, if you're not aware of it, you will run into bottlenecks. IT organizations will challenge, vendors, and they will say that, hey, why are you so special, vendor? I have thousands of companies that signed this MSA contract, and they're coming from a place of, ignorance, right? Because we are going through a paradigm shift. What was relevant yesterday is not relevant tomorrow, because we have had Lean, Six Sigma, Jidoka, and all these methodologies for so long. Can anyone in this room say that their operation runs with like 100% efficiency, right? So that means those methodologies failed. They got you to a point, it got you to QBRs, but QBRs are too late. What we have done, we have created digital operations by following this methodology. That means, you can preempt the error as it's happening in that sub-second, create audit trails, and then when you get a customer claim or a complaint, whether it's food safety or a picking accuracy, you can go back in time and you have a per-second audit trail of your entire network operation. Just think about for a second what I just said, and I'll show you lots of videos and examples. But so the procurement and infrastructure, it means we have to think about the data center design at your facility level. If you have to think about your network contracts, fiber optic networks, it's a new paradigm, and that's why I'm, in the operating model, it's very, very important that you work with a partner that has done this before, end to end, not just bits and pieces, because you may solve that particular use case, but then when you go to the next one, you will find out you have to write a capital acquisition request. You'll have to think about consolidation, just like a mergers and acquisitions, like mess that it creates, right? You have different applications, you have to merge them, it's a cost to the company. But if you think about it right from the get-go, then your foundation is rock solid, and the power, the value that you can unleash from this is so massive. I mean, this has never been done before, until recently when NVIDIA created the GPUs and the whole paradigm shift took place. The next one is, this is a question that everyone asks, like, what use cases do you serve? That's the wrong question. The right question is, what's the value case? When you are building a case for your operations, you are thinking about what system should I implement, right, that will solve these problems. Because you're thinking about operations, system comes later, right? So systems thinkings or technology first is not a right approach. So what I've done is I've broken this space use cases into macro and micro. So what is macro? So macro is you've got ceiling cameras. I mean, if we have cameras in this conference hall, in any second, I can tell you how many people are on this floor, right? It's easy. We can generate heat maps. Think of your warehouse. You have AMRs driving around. You want to do traveling salesman problem, intelligent sorting, all kinds of applications, right? You may be thinking about, we went to a customer. They were thinking of buying AMRs because they had 20 people with order cards driving around, picking from the shelf. Every item was RFID tagged. When we got in, we said, like, are your products sorted the right way? So now, when they're picking, if you interface that with the cameras, now I can build a machine learning, intelligent sortation, and I can tell you how you should sort your products so that your people are not traveling in 10 lanes, but your kit is isolated in 2 or 3 lanes. That's the value thinking, right? So these are macro level examples. So easy to do. Um, I'll play this video, and this video has a ton of use cases, and you will. This is our platform solution suite. So while the video is playing, I'll walk you through. You will see the kind of labels we are scanning. We are the most powerful in label scanning technology in the world. We demonstrated this with overlapping labels, broken labels, faded, jaded, no labels, shrink wrapped, glare. It doesn't matter whether you have labels or you have information printed on a packet. We can read it because in your supply chain you have 2 types of products. You have products from which you have information that you can read, which are rectangular in shape, which have some kind of marking, barcodes to text, or you have products which are not rectangular in shape, like beverage bottles, case packs. You still need to track both. If you can't read, if you can't track, how are you going to track your inventory? How are you going to track the process, right? So we created world's most advanced, what I patented as autonomous OCR technology, and we packed it in on conveyor belts, vision picking, dock towers, like induction process in goods to person when you are feeding inventory in auto store, exotech-like systems, all of it. Because if you can't, if your inventory feed is wrong in an auto store or an exotech, then the output will also be wrong, right? So it's a combination of things, not one. So, and in this case, this is an example of micro. Think about it this way. Label scanning is complicated, and there are mistakes, but we can still read the whole label. Logos, text, every single thing, like the whole, whatever is on it, we can read it, no problems. But in this case, if I grab 6 bags of chips in my fist, you can't even see what I have in here. How are you going to count? And we have done that. This is, if you can do this, then you can do anything with AI. And that's how the value creation takes place. These are other examples of, like you would see in the market, lots of people talking about gate check-in. This we launched in May 2019, right? So what you're seeing out in the market right now, we were the first startup to launch in May 2019 with gate check-in and other applications. So again, when you deal with heavy rain, snow, rusted license plates, or this blockage, or you have lanes where you have two trucks coming in and out, and it's blocking the view, how do you deal with complexity? If you can't deal with complexity, you cannot bring value. So these are the considerations that you want to have before you make that decision. It's very easy to say that, oh, my vendor has LPR built into the camera, or they have edge device built around it. 100% of the camera vendors in the market, they cannot scan LPR with perfection. They are at 60% around accuracy if you just use the camera, because the machine learning models that deliver accuracy, they cannot fit inside the camera. That's the hard truth. So now if you connect that with edge devices and you do that compute, so you can bring accuracy. But then comes the question of, oh, what if it rains? What if it snows? What if there's blockage? If things change, the precision of the technology is extremely important. Without accuracy, there is no value or very little value. And that's the messaging, right? So moving on, the next step as you're building your network, right? Again, we are talking about use cases. But the opportunity in front of us is way beyond that most of the people are thinking or aware of. So we have all heard about digital twins, and there are many definitions given out in the market. The digital twin is something very simple. If you think of a warehouse operations may comprise of like 20 processes. Each process, as it's taking place, if you can fix it in real time, you have created a process digital twin. So imagine that goods to person picking. I'm picking chips and dips, and I'm following the instruction given to me by ASRS systems. And if I'm making a mistake, nobody's watching. right? $2 million lost in value at one facility in simple use case. If I can watch this process in real time and fix it, by providing feedback, I've changed that process and I've created a process digital twin, right? Now you go to the induction side, or you go to the dock door, you're shipping cargo out, what you just packed. That's another process. And if you can track things as it happens in real time, you can detect damage, you can scan the labels, you can control kitting, you can track the cargo, you can load it in the right trailer, all of that, right? Then you have created a process digital twin of your cargo outbound flow, right? When you start doing this accurately by process, by creating process digital twin, you can start feeding it into the physical digital twin of the facility. Now, what does a physical digital twin look like, right? It looks exactly the way you see it when you're walking. So this is an exact replica of a warehouse where, the goods to person picking you saw, we created the process digital twin, and we loaded it up in the physical digital twin. Now you're sitting at home. Imagine you have 20 sites. The moment picking starts, you don't have to go to the warehouse. You open the dashboard, you open the browser, and you can see what is going on. Which operator is working, the digital avatar, just like this person in this twin, you see the operator ID, you see the picking efficiency. We gamified the whole thing. It's not about penalizing, but it's not about penalties, but about enabling them, because people get tired. You could be working in a hot warehouse, you could be working in a cold, and people get night shift or just churn. And robots are not always the answer, because robots are not fully intelligent yet. So once you start doing that, you can start to see your network as it happens in real time being corrected. And you have an audit trail. So let's say a customer files a complaint, a claim against you. You can go back into the dashboard. You have provided the feedback. You have changed the auditing process. Today, we do QBRs, which is 3 months late, right, or a month late. If you can do real-time industrial engineering, we have changed the landscape. So that's what digital operations is about. When we are fixing things as it happens, we have taken it beyond Six Sigma, Lean, and all known methodologies have gone, and we have done that, right? And if you can do that, that's when you need to think about generative AI. Because now you have valuable data. You have videos, you have images, you have people, you have a 3PL managing your site, like vendor X versus vendor Y. How did they perform? Should I write my procurement contract? These are the questions that you can ask from generative AI, right? But again, are you going to do per transaction with ChatGPT? Are you going to send your data into the cloud? Are you going to buy tokens? And I know they are being sold, and I'm not here to change how the industry works, but I'm here to educate, right? So you have to think again in terms of value, because you may be doing 1 million transactions for one process in 1 year, and when you aggregate across 20 processes in one site, how many tokens are we talking about? The tech giants would love that, but you got to be smart about it, right? So what we did is we built GPT, KoiGPT in-house, and we, as part of the platform. So you don't have to worry about transactional fee or hiring, a developer to figure out what's the best LLM model out there, how does it apply to this data. And the question is not about 20, 30 questions. It's about your network. Imagine the power of a digital twin, generative AI-powered digital twin network. That's what KoiVision platform is all about, right? You can start asking questions because you have to build this ground up. As you start asking questions at the process level, when you created the process digital twin, you can take it to aggregate it across processes at a particular site, and then you can aggregate it across your network. But if you don't think that way, imagine what will happen. It will be a system integration project, and you will miss out on the value, right? So these are all live examples of what we have built. And here's an example of how we engage with customers. So when we go out in the market, we are no longer saying that, oh, here's a use case, let's collaborate on that. Our conversation is like, let us help you with value articulation, because we want to make sure, as experts in this field who have done it before, this is we want to ensure your foundation is set up right. And I can give you examples of how many customers who were ready to sign a contract with someone, and once they learned about the AI operating model, they completely switched gears, and we started working with them. We are today doing deals in Germany, Chile, Fiji, India, Mexico, Brazil, United States, Canada, all over the world. And we have not taken a single dollar in venture capital, by the way. And we are profitable. So when, and we are able to do so because we are delivering value to the customers, right? So this is, the parameters that we want to optimize. When we engage, we identify those value cases. I'll give you a couple of examples. So in one use case, the customer was very excited, and we were as excited as the customer because they had 200 sites, right? They wanted to partner with us on this use case across 200 sites. Any tech company will dream of signing a contract. So we applied the AI operating model, and we started asking questions around the value, right? It turned out they wanted to track cargo inside the warehouse, but the value for them was just $150,000 per site, right? Now, if you try to buy an edge computing server, and you want to load up 250 cameras, video stream into one edge server, it's not going to work. Your investment will be south of $500,000 plus, at least, right? So this is where we have to think in terms of technology and value first. So what we did is we decentralized the compute, and we were able to bring down the cost of the server by changing how the whole thinking was. And then we were able to club it with another use case, right? And now you have a business strategy. You can write a capital acquisition request that your CFO will approve, and your use case gets funded, and you can implement, and you are successful. And how many deals are done in the market, right? Where hundreds of millions of dollars or millions of dollars are invested at a site, and then nobody wants to talk about it because people's jobs will get questioned. It's a very common theme, and people are not doing it intentionally just because the holistic thinking is not there. Another aspect of this, in the value articulation is when we think about what we are trying to do, the whole journey, then we can ask intelligent questions upfront. So what are those questions? Today you want to automate this process. Tomorrow you may want to implement robotics. Okay. If you are going to implement robotics, you may think about AMRs. You may think about automating systems, but you would need like CAD/CAM diagrams for building, making sure your robots can perform in that right environment. So that's a foundational question. Another thing that you want to think about is, a human, I can pick this product from here, I can walk over and place it in another place, right? But a robot can't do that. It may be able to pick something, but now you need mobility, right? And communication and other things. So by thinking holistically, even before you buy anything for your facility. So let's say you are trying to design your warehouse. You want to buy conveyor belts. $1.5 million investment. Why are you buying conveyor belt? Because you want to elevate the efficiency of the warehouse. After buying, after 6 months, we find out the efficiency is still the same, and nobody wants to talk about it, right? It happens all the time. So in that digital twin, we can even simulate that. And that's why, the whole, the simulation, visualization, automation, 3 things. So we help, we have a full suite, and we help with the value articulation. We work with you as partners. And from scanning, yard intelligence, to manufacturing, intelligence, warehouse intelligence, bringing it together. Sometimes you're dealing with raw materials, and you're receiving pallets, and there are many variations of it, right? So the foundation is extremely important. At end of the conversation, we want to walk away very quickly. What's the value is going to be like, and that should translate into actionable intelligence for your partners and for yourself. For everyone should know this is the opportunity, and this is why we are going to do it, because we will save so much, and we are going to elevate the efficiency. So the big announcement, is because we started this space, we knew how the space grows, right? So we are basically making yard intelligence, gate check-in, and yard asset tracking free for any company that has $1 billion in revenue up to 10 sites. Come talk to us. We are not going to change this, and we may even extend it further in 2025. But for next 6 months, before you think of, investing in something like this, please come talk to us. And the reason we are doing this is not because we are out with an agenda. The reason we are doing this is we want to make sure we can have that conversation with you so you are set up right for success. Because the conversation is not about a single use case. It's about the AI operating model. It's about the value for your entire network, your facility and the group of facilities. And if you don't think that way, you're going to make mistakes, right? If you have any questions, we'll be at our booth 233 right over there for another 2 hours. Please stop by. We'll love to have a conversation with you. I'm Ash, I'm the founder and CEO of KoiReader Technologies. You can also find me at ash@koireader.com. We reach out through any of our pages, on LinkedIn, website, etc. And if you have any questions, we'd love to answer those. If there are no questions, we can wrap up the session. Okay, thank you, everyone.